Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a small video for you guys to start off your weekend in the right way. I'm going to be looking at the metagame for the Eco Cup 3.0 Legacy that just kicked off around a week ago. For those new to this concept, it's basically me inviting some name players, could be legends of the game, could be grinders, could be content creators, and I pit them against my members over on MetaFi, and we play for awesome prizes. So for this one, we have Hello Newton, known for his Gaia's Cradle prowess. We have Neville Shoot, Doomsday aficionado from my home country, and we have JPA93, a very feared sneak attack pilot. For everybody who's ever played a match on Magic Online, they know who Jonathan is. And they are competing for 60 treasure chests, and a couple of very, very nice artist proofs here. Goblin Matron, Retro Foil, Llanowar Elves, Promo Foil, and with this nice gold signature from the artist. So this is what you can expect throughout the year. As I said, this is 3.0. That means we already have 1.0, 2.0. I've even had a vintage one. So I plan on putting these on for the entirety of the year, and of course beyond that as well. So if that's anything you want to look into, consider becoming a member over on my MetaFi. Just to bait a little bit more, these are some of the cool stuff that I have in my treasury. We have these. These are so awesome. Foil artist proof with this special inscription of the first place. So I'll definitely be using those as first place. And we have this amazing gold signed foil German Void Mage Prodigy from Kai Bude. And then another Kappa Cannoneer here, retro foil, gold signed. So that's what you can expect from the future. With that being said, let's try and dive into this tournament and the metagame breakdown. So we have 32 decks here. And as you can see, I certainly have a type when it comes to the average member. My average member likes to cast Ponder, Brainstorm, and win in a fair fashion. So the first pile here is pretty big. You have 7 copies of Grixis, which is a version that goes slightly bigger than the average blue-black and is advantageous into a field of, you know, Murktide Mirrors. You play against the occasional Show and Tell deck or Narset Teferi, Flame of Anor type deck. Pyroblast is just, yeah, I mean, an amazing tool. Vindicates any blue permanent, counters any blue card, so you're giving up a little bit on your mana base, but in a field like this, I feel like you could expect very low amount of, you know, lands, Blood Moon type decks. So I really like this deck choice, I must say. Then we have some Core Steel Cutter classic Izzet tempo decks. This deck will have a bit of a better mana base, and it will have the card Core Steel Cutter, which is just very good against, you know, a pile of spud removal like, you know, Plow, etc. So I'm really excited about this card to see if this card will be a staple of Legacy or this will be like a niche card. I feel like now is a little bit too early to tell, but the signs are there that this card is here to stay when it comes to tempo tool. Then we have a single copy of Dimir. Dimir has the better mana base, can play Harbinger in the sideboard. Generally a little less variance, a little bit better against Wasteland, a little bit better against Blood Moon. So this is kind of the conservative choice if you're going for a tempo deck that is going slightly bigger than classic Delver decks. Then we have, I'm not going to say a classic Delver deck because I didn't believe this is a Dimir version, but basically a pilot prioritizing attacking early and often and basically giving up some longevity or durability doing so, which will generally shine against, you know, combo and Ancient Tomb decks. So maybe this is not the field to be playing Delver, so I guess that's a challenge for that player. Next up is a sorted combo where I've actually decided to put the graveyard decks as well. So obviously JPA is on Sneak and Show, no surprises there. We have Martin Neville Shoot on Doomsday alongside another pilot. I believe one of them is like a tempo version with, you know, the Tamios, the Bowmasters, the Murktides of the world, maybe Barrowwebs in the sideboard. Then we have a couple of Dimir Reanimator, a deck rather, that has picked up some steam lately, and I believe it's here to stay at a similar tier as, you know, Izzet tempo, like the Cutter. I don't think it's broken at all. I think it's actually pretty perfectly balanced, but then again, who am I to be the judge of that? Then we have a Fast Reanimator deck, which is more of an all-in approach. You sideboard into the Witherbloom Apprentice and Chainless Mark, and you try to basically be a step ahead of your opponent who brought out all removal and brought in sideboard hate, graveyard hate rather. So with open deck list, that could be a bit of a challenge. Again, the open deck list is something that rewards, playing fair decks and punishes playing these unfair decks where you don't get your equity from opponent keeping like double removal spell against Turbo Doomsday or something along those lines, right? So this tournament structure generally favors the fair strategies. And then we have a copy of Breakfast, always an amazing deck. You don't know if you're dying on turn 2 or getting grinded out later on. Next column is basically mid-range and control. Classic Jeskai Stoneblade, love to see it. Don't Stop Believing. 3 different versions of Beanstalk. I believe 2 of them are Sultai and a single multicolor with Leyline Binding. Those decks are just very fun to play, and I think they're actually a good choice into a field of a ton of, Daze decks that aren't blazing fast, but more get a lot of time against these decks, and you should be able to outmaneuver them. Let's see if we can make this big Atraxa go away. All right, we made it. Then we have a single copy of Wizards. Wizards is a deck that I have been curious to try for a while. I haven't gone to do it yet, but I actually think with the new equipment getting spoiled that I'm going to give it a go in the near future. Again, rock solid mana base, solid card quality, good at delaying the game and then taking over with cards like Tamiyo and Flame of Anor. I believe this is an Esper version, so I probably should have put it over here. I can't remember if it's a Daze deck or not, though, but Esper, generally you're stretching your mana to get the good white removal, and then you get some Teferi for catch-all, especially will shine in blue metagames, and you can argue that this is a blue metagame, so Teferi, I'm definitely looking out for that one. This is one of my personal favorites, Plagon Lord of the Beach. So the trick about this card is you have to realize how many bad cards do you have to put in your deck for this to be great. And it turns out the answer to that question is 0, because playing Delighted Halfling, playing Nadu, playing Stoneforge, playing Tamiyo, that's not a punishment at all. And I think this card is the real deal. If I had more time on my hands, I would definitely be working more on this card. I think it's pretty good in a Bant Nadu deck where you play Stoneforge Shuko instead of Nomads, and you're getting your unfair angle that way. So yeah, I'm certainly looking out for this one. I hope it'll do well. Then we have a little bit of classic Jeskai here, punishing opponents for hopefully playing a greedier mana base than the Jeskai deck. Ton of basics, Prismatic Vista mana base, shutting your opponent down with back to basics, trying to control the game with the white removal spells and counters, and finishing off the game with 4 Theolingus. Pretty cool strategy. And yeah, fun to play. And I think, while I don't think this is a deck that will win any, competitive tournaments like a challenge, like a qualifier, etc., this is certainly a deck that can shine in metagames like this, where there's this tendency towards fair and not a ton of unfair to worry about. Next up is the Ancient Tomb column. We have Red Painter. Great deck if you have a lot of blue decks in the metagame. Hard to play against. Rewards deck knowledge, bunch of tricks built into the deck toolbox. It does lose a little bit of value when the opponent has access to your full 75, but I'm really confident this deck will do well in the tournament. Then we have Mystic Forge, which is a deck that, sees play every now and again, but whenever it sees, play in a, let's say, meaningful fashion, you see people adjusting with Null Rods, Stonies, or Collector Roof, and then the deck is just not that great, so let's see if this player can dodge those hate pieces. Then we have Mono White Initiative here, a favorite deck of the pilot, and huge respect for playing it. Personally, I don't think the deck has enough 3-drops, or just turn 1 plays in general to warrant playing it over something like Moonstompy. But then again, Magic is not always about giving yourself the highest chance to win. Magic is also sometimes about enjoying yourself the most as possible. So huge respect for diversifying the metagame with Mono White Initiative. 1 copy of Moonstompy. I think the Moonstompy deck is looking to take advantage of the fact that these Grixis decks are not running a swamp. Maybe take advantage of a Doomsday deck or a Beanstalk deck not developing its mana before Blood Moon hits, and trying to kill your opponent early and often. The worst matchup for a deck like this is typically Show and Tell variants, and it looks like with only 1 copy in the metagame, this could be a great spot for Blood Moon. Last up, we have Cradle Control by Hello Newton. Newton recently won a Legacy Showcase Challenge or qualifier. Maybe just it's an amazing achievement, obviously. I think it was a Showcase Challenge. Playing his favorite deck, especially the Scythe Cup Cat, is bolstering this deck a lot, where it goes from having kind of a poor individual card quality to actually having a bunch of creatures that we can't allow them to untap with. Of course, White of the Reliquary being the big one. I especially like this deck into the current metagame at large because it has built-in endurances, it has built-in Bajukabok off of its land tutors, Elvish Reclaimer, and White of the Reliquary. And that is kind of just a good way to cover your bases against the metagame where Oops All Spells and Dimir Reanimator are looming, and those cards are also good to proactively use against Netherglyph strategies or Murktide Regent, right? So you get a lot of mileage out of those cards. Well, that took us through the metagame here. I have a few favorites among these, but it's going to be very exciting to see how it plays out. How it works is I organize everything on Discord. I collect the deck lists. I make a bracket. People organize between them. They have 3 to 4 days to play out their match. They report back their results. I update the bracket, and you can see who you're playing against. And then when the dust settles, I distribute the prizes, and everybody's happy and are always asking me, when do we go again? So if that sounds like anything that you're interested in, you should certainly head over to the Metafy and go for a Brainstorm Baron subscription, and that will automatically invite you to the Discord, and you will be having the free access to future cups, which are going to be quite awesome. I especially have bigger plans when we get closer to Eternal Weekend. So I can't wait to see you over there, and I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. I have a lot of Magic tournaments on my calendar, so I'm looking forward, and I hope you do as well. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you back soon on the channel. Have a nice weekend.